Hello and welcome to PlayStation Racer. On this channel I'm documenting my journey learning to play online racing sims, mainly Gran Turismo and Formula 1. At the moment we're looking at Formula 1 2021, and in this video I want to spend a few minutes just looking at how I run a normal practice session through a weekend. Many people that I see online, they just load up the game, they want to get straight into just learning the track and then into qualifying and then straight into the race itself. But a big part of the game is R&D, and many people miss a trick with regards to the quick practice option. Now very often what I will do when I'm loading up a weekend is I'll go into the workstation and immediately look at the 3 practice sessions. And this weekend is almost perfect. We've got 2 wet practice sessions and 1 dry. And what I will normally do is I will run the quick practice on the wet sessions because I'm not great at racing in the wet. And then I'll use the dry session to learn the track. Not perfect in this particular case for this weekend because we've got the 2 wet practice sessions up front and then the dry on practice 3. So we're having to put all of our eggs in one basket. We have to make the decision. Do we go out on a wet practice and if it all goes wrong then we've got a dry one? Or do we just leave everything for that dry practice? And in this particular instance, I'm actually going to go for the all or nothing, and we'll take practice 3 as what I refer to as the manual run, the one that I'm actually going to do rather than letting the game simulate the other 2 practice sessions. So first of all what we'll do is we'll load up practice 1, which as you can see on the screen is a 30-minute session and it's forecast rain. And we're going to go across to the quick practice option, and in there we get the option to run the race strategy program, the track acclimatization program, or the qualifying pace. And for this first session we're going to go with the race strategy option. We got a 100% success rate for this first option that's on the screen, where we need to score 30 points or more. There's a 70% success rate for tyre wear for that particular program, and we've got a 50% success rate for the weight reduction option. I'm going to head over to the 70% success rate for the tyre wear option. We'll just run that through and you can see how quickly it runs through that program. It actually failed in that instance. We've got the option to run it again, so I am going to do that and we'll see what we come up with. And that one has now passed, which is good. We've still got 13 minutes to go, so we'll head over to the 50% success rate for the engine power and we'll run that one. Likely to fail, and it did, but we have got time to run that again, so we'll just run that one again because I want the benefits for the engine rather than anything else. And then we haven't got any more time to run anything else, so we can just back out of that and just finish off the program. So we've got 2 items that were successful, which is quite nice. Finish off the session and then we can go into practice 2. Now practice 2 is going to be another quick practice session. So if we go into the workstation, head across to practice 2, and then again go to quick practice, and this time we're going to head over to the qualifying pace and we're going to run that program. Again, I've got some options. I'm actually going to go with the 70% success on the engine power because again I want to build the engine power. Brilliant news, we've actually got that one successful, so we can head over to the second engine power option. It's a 25% success rate, likely to fail, but we have got time to run it again. But it passed, which is great, and that gives us the option to run something else. So we're going to go with the middle one, I think, the 50% success rate for the weight reduction, and we'll just run through that particular program. Luckily, we've got a success on that one as well, which was great. And then we haven't got enough time to run anything else, so we'll just simply back out of that program, and you can see that we've got confirmation of the 4 items that were completed successfully. So all in all, that wasn't a bad practice session, pretty good really, quite pleased with that. So now we head into the third of the 3 practice sessions. Now this is the one that I'm going to run manually, so we'll leave that as go to track. And the program that I'm going to major on this one is going to be the track acclimatization, because I like that with the gates to learn the track a little bit before I go out and do the qualifying, especially as I'm new to the game and just getting a feel for the tracks. So we are in the pit garage at the moment. We'll go into the session, we'll pick track acclimatization, and then we'll just simply run that program. I'm going to choose a flying lap option, and again this is all about learning the track. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are racing.
Okay, your goal is to get through as many corner gates as quickly and precisely as possible. Remember to activate your DRS and the DRS zone as well.
Okay, I don't need to worry about the DRS because I've got that auto enabled at the moment, but we will be looking for the gates, and that's 1, and you can see at the top, you can see how we're doing. So we're purple for gate 1, that's gate 2, gate 3, so we're still purple on those. You can see the development boost on the left hand side, so we need to chain 5 corners together. We need to have a fast sector on 1 and 2, so quite a fair bit to do on this particular run. We've just managed to chain 5 corners together, which is good. We've already achieved that requirement from this session, and we're actually doing pretty well. We're on purple for most of the sectors at the moment, pushing quite hard and just making sure that we are hitting all of these gates as we go through. It's important to hit the gates in the order that they're coming up on the screen, because the score accumulates. So the more that you can string together, the higher your score will be. And the target score is 385, and we are currently, it looks like we're actually on target for that, which is pretty good. Normally the target scores are a little bit higher and I don't tend to hit them, but I'm actually stringing quite a few of these gates together on this particular track. Many of them are purple, a couple of greens.
Approaching the DRS zone, watch your MFD for the activation point.
Okay, so that's the DRS, which obviously the computer's doing itself.
You obviously have a really good understanding of this circuit.
So we've achieved the target score as well, but the job still isn't done. We're into the second lap because we've still got to get a fast sector 2 and a fast sector 1. So pushing a little bit harder now. 2 purple gates. We've got 2 green, 3rd green, so we've really got to be pushing this a little bit more. But you can see how with the gates it really does help you to learn the best way around these tracks, and sometimes when I take a corner a little bit more deep than I would otherwise like to, you can't get away with that when you're running this particular program. So a fair number of purples, a few greens in there at the moment. We still haven't got our fast sector 1, we've just got a fast sector 2, which is really, really good. So that's 2 of the 3 development boosts achieved, as well as our target score, which is really good. Although you'll notice that the target score is now 525 whilst we're going for this purple sector. So it's jumped up quite a bit. Chaining a few of these corners together at the moment, so up to 390. Into the DRS zone.
Great stuff, you've pretty much nailed this circuit. This is a really strong foundation to build from over the weekend.
That was really good. We hit the target score, which was really great, but we still haven't got our fast sector 1. We need to push harder. So now you're getting the balance of not only having correct track position with the gates, but we've really got to be pushing hard, braking as late as possible while still making those apexes, getting on the power as quickly as possible so that we can get down the straights. And thankfully we've just done a fast sector 1 as well, so we've now got all 3 of those options done, which is great news. And we can either continue with the program or we can come in, and I tend to normally try and continue with the program. Missed a gate there, so that one's now come up red, and I've now broken the chain, which means my points won't be quite so good. Maybe concentration is dropping slightly as we are running through this program. Quickly back onto a couple of purple sectors, which is good, but that single red gate there, a little bit disappointing. But bear in mind that we're on our third lap as well on the soft tyres, so the soft tyres could be going off a little bit as well. But we're finishing up with some nice purples.
Program complete and a job well done. We got some excellent data with that run, so come on back to the garage and I can talk you through the numbers.
Okay.
Right, come in at the end of this
So we
lap.
just acknowledged by saying that we're coming in, and we'll just finish off this particular lap, and then we'll go into the pits. Okay, so back in the garage we can see that we have got 2 items for the race strategy, 5 for track acclimatization, and we've got 4 on the qualifying practice. We've still got a fair amount of time left to run in this session, over 20 minutes, so we could head over to the race strategy and just see if we can address 1 or 2 of the outstanding items in here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go out on the flying lap. So 5 lights, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are racing, and you can see that we need to manage the tyre wear, clean the sector and the racing line. We've already managed the tyre wear, and we've got a clean sector from the previous simulated sessions. But we failed on the racing line, so that is going to be the emphasis of this particular session. So for the moment, I probably normally back off a little bit on this particular program, just so that I make sure that I stay within a couple of meters of that racing line. And very often when you are following a car, it can help, because you can get in behind that car on the assumption that that car is following the racing line, especially when you haven't got the corner guide on, or the guide right the way down the track. I've just got the corner guide on at the moment, which is giving me something to aim for as I'm coming down the straights. But if you've got that turned off, as I will have fairly soon, I hope, then it will make the racing line much harder, because you're going to need to know exactly where you need to be positioning the car for each lap. And again, the gates help with that particular program. We've got 2 cars up ahead of us at the moment, just watching the Ferrari to see the line that they're taking and trying to keep my car on that line as best as I can, even though it's a little way down the road. But we did manage.
You've nailed what we asked for. Keep it up.
We did manage to get that racing line requirement. And then you'll see at the top we've got lap 1 is green. We can go on and do lap 2, 3, 4 and 5, which will then enable the technicians, our team, to get more data about the car, about the tracks and everything else. And then obviously we get more points as we go through doing more laps. I'm just going to scrub through for the moment. So we're just coming up towards the end of the lap on lap 5 of this particular session.
That was a very good job indeed. We got a lot of valuable information out of that.
And there we go. We've got all of those laps checked off, and then we can just come in and pit.
Understood, stopping this lap.
So that tends to be how I run my practice sessions. If I've got wet days, I normally go with the quick practice. If they're all dry, then I'll normally do this manual session on practice 1. If it goes really badly, I can then repeat that on practice 2, and if things have gone well, then I can do the quick practice on both 2 and 3. But it does mean that you can go through your practice sessions very quickly, whilst maximising the opportunity to reduce the cost of the R&D, which is, as I said earlier, all important within this particular game. So we can just go into the workstation and have a look and see how we did. So we got all 5 for the first 2 and just 1 item missing on the qualifying pace. So all in all, that is a pretty successful practice session, which took about half an hour rather than an hour and a half to do all of them. It does mean that we've learnt a bit about the track, which is all good as well. In fact, it only took about 20 minutes to go through that, so we've still got 10 minutes of the session to scrub through. So the payback for those minutes that you've put in learning the track and getting this R&D, in my opinion, is well worth it. So we can review the standings, and then when we go back and advance through the game, we get to the resource points screen, and you can see how we have done. We then get the resource points being applied, and you'll see for each of these the amount of R&D points that we need to spend for each item are being reduced. So again, the more of these little tests that you can do, these programs that you can run, the more you can reduce the cost of the R&D, the more you can develop your car, and the more that you develop the car, the easier it's going to be to run, the more competitive you can be, and it just makes the whole game experience just so much better. And it also does some good to the acclaim. I've come up a little bit there, and the car has had a fairly big boost up to level 4, which is all good. So just, you know, positives throughout by doing your practice sessions using the quick practice. And I would recommend that everybody does that when you can. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe. It helps the channel, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye.